Hello everyone, I'm Aaron Pletz from DataStax, and I'm going to show you how to build a simple example using LangFlow and DataStax AstraDB. All right, we are going to build a simple application which reads the text of the famous Edgar Allen Poe story, the Cask of Amontillado, and brings that story into context so that we can have a chat conversation with it. All right, simple enough, let's go. So I'm running LangFlow locally, and on my local, I'm going to create a new project, and I'm just going to go with a blank flow. I'm going to start by placing down a file data component, and I'm going to point it at my local text file that has the story of the Cask of Amontillado. There it is, amontillado.txt. So let me open that. Now, we're going to also need to generate embeddings for it. So I'm going to grab this OpenAI embeddings component and slide it up there. You get to pick from a few different models with this one, but I'm going to stick with this text embedding 3 small model, which should generate 1536 dimensional vectors. For my OpenAI API key, I'm going to set that to an environment variable that I have preset called OpenAI API key. Easy enough. Just like that. Now, what I'm going to do is grab a component that can help us split the text into manageable chunks for the vector store. And to do that, I'm going to grab a text splitter component, and specifically, I'm going to use this recursive character text splitter. And I'm just going to grab that and drag it out here. Chunk size of 1,000 is good. And for chunk overlap, we're going to set that to 15. So what I'm going to do is draw a line from this record connector on the file component out to this input connector on the recursive character text splitter, just like that. Now, we need to put this all in a vector store. So what I'm going to do next is go ahead and we'll close the extended components, and then we'll grab under vector stores, we want AstraDB, of course. So let's go ahead and put that there. We can move some of these around to save a little bit of space. And maybe even zoom out a little bit will help too. So now that I have this AstraDB component, let's again use the environment variables to set our token and our endpoint. And our collection is going to be cask _of _Amontillado. Now we're going to grab the record output from the recursive character text splitter, and we're going to run that to the input connector on AstraDB. Then we're going to connect the embeddings connectors between OpenAI embeddings and the DataStax AstraDB component, just like that. Okay, so if this works, it should create a new collection called Cask of Amontillado inside the default key space of my AstraDB instance. So let's click this little run icon and see if it works. Okay, it looks like it completed. Let's go have a look at the database quick. All right, so here inside my AstraDB dashboard, let's have a look at databases, vector database, and then Data Explorer, and then let's go to our default key space. All right, well, we have a collection for Cask of Amontillado. Oh, and it has records. Look at that. We actually have embeddings that have been generated from the text in that story. So outstanding. We've done our first part where we've been able to load data here without writing any code at all. So let's move on to the query portion. Before we do that though, now that we know this is good, let's go ahead and go to settings here and save this as Cask of Amontillado loader, just like that. And maybe describe it as like loader for Cask of Amontillado example. All right, so let's save that. Okay, now if we go back to our LangFlow dashboard, let's go ahead and build our chatbot query interface. So let's go ahead and say new project, and we'll also do blank flow. Well, since we're building a chatbot, let's go ahead and start with chat input. We really don't need to do a whole lot else here, but this will actually kind of trigger LangFlow to respond with like a chatbot kind of interface. So we definitely want that. Next, we are also going to need to generate embeddings again from our text queries so that it can be successfully compared against what we have in our vector store. So under embeddings, I'm going to grab OpenAI embeddings once again. I'm going to make sure that we use the same model of that text embedding 3 small. And then I'm also going to set our API key once again, just like that. Now, we want to be able to search on our vector store. So now we have this different type of component called vector search. So let's open up that, grab AstraDB search, and we're going to put that right here. All right. Now what we want to do is run the text output from the chat input to our input value, just like that. And then we also want to connect up our embeddings to embeddings lines, just like that. Additionally, going through AstraDB here, we're going to want to make sure that we set our token and endpoint to our environment variables again. If you remember, our collection name was Cask of Amontillado, and we shouldn't need to touch anything else. This should be fine because we really do want to do a similarity search comparison. Let's slide over a little bit here. We also want to make sure that we have a text output here because this is what's going to help us kind of build out and properly format what the chatbot responds with. So we're going to go from the record output on AstraDB search and just connect that up. Additionally, we are going to need a prompt component. That's how we're going to kind of cycle through our inputs to the chatbot. So under inputs here, I'm going to look for this prompt component, going to drag it out over here, just like that. Now, the thing about the prompt is that, we have to do a little bit of prompt engineering on it. So we have to define a template for it. So let's click this button and we get kind of a clean slate for our prompt template. So I'm going to say, designate that we're using this as a system prompt. We'll say system, and then we'll say use the following pieces of context to answer the question at the end. And then we'll say, if you don't know the answer, just say that you don't know. Don't try to make up an answer. All right, and then maybe some dashes in here. And then we'll define inject our context right there. And you'll notice that I've put that in curly braces so it pops up down here. And then we're also going to have a human prompt. And we're going to say, this is where the question comes in. Question. Just like that. Okay. So now I can say, check and save. Let's go ahead. Let's zoom out here a little bit. We have our prompt component, but we haven't connected it to anything yet. First of all, this chat input, we're actually going to kind of splice out, and that's going to go to the question connector right here. Additionally, from our text output, that comes from AstraDB, that is going to end up in our context, just like that. So as we're using the OpenAI model here, let's go ahead and put that in there as well to kind of help us through the chat interface. And we want to make sure we're using GPT 3.5 Turbo. We'll set our OpenAI key, and we're going to set our input to the text output from the prompt. Then what we're going to do is we just need a chat output component in here as well. And all we're going to do is tie this text output on OpenAI to the message input. All right, so now if I zoom out, you can see all of the components kind of connected up here. And if we did this right, it should present a chatbot that allows us to query based on the contents of the story of the Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. So down here, we're going to click Run. All right, so I see I have a LangFlow chat that's popped up. All right, so how about we say, well, let's start with something simple. What is this story about? And let's see what it comes back with. This story is about a man named Montresor who seeks revenge on his friend Fortunato during the carnival season by luring him into the catacombs with the promise of Amontillado wine, only to ultimately trap and bury him alive. Sounds chilling, but as you can see, it actually is using the context provided by what we vectorized inside of AstraDB. So we can keep asking it some questions here, and we can say, who is Montresor? And it comes back with, Montresor is the narrator of the story, a character who is leading Fortunato to his doom in the catacombs. You know, and then we can ask a little bit too about who is Fortunato. And of course, it tells us a little bit about Fortunato, a man who prides himself on connoisseurship in wine, and some other unflattering things about him. But hey, as you can see, we have a working chat interface here with LangFlow, and really the only thing we've done here that's even close to coding is building up our own custom prompt template. So, hope you have some fun with it. Hope you check out LangFlow, and have a great day.